And for the prepared subject for today's live, I wanted to talk to you about domains, subdomains, and hold on one second here. I think we might have a technical difficulty. Let me see. Okay, we're going to, I guess we're okay. There we are. Sorry. The reason I was a minute late getting started is when I started, I had a glitch. So I rebooted, which is the best, that's the best thing to do before you go live for any reason, because it clears the RAM in your computer, it clears the RAM in your router, and it makes your upload speeds for uploading live video faster. So that actually works much better. Hi, Dinah. How are you? I'm glad you're here. Glad to see you. Okay, so I just want to take a couple minutes here in the beginning to just talk for a couple minutes about domains. If any of you have been to any of my other trainings, you've probably heard this little piece before, but I'm going to say it again in case there's people here who don't know my little spiel. When you talk about domains, domains are actually addresses that you purchase online. So it's your .com or your .us or .org, whatever your website domain is. That is actually your, it's an English version of a URL, which could also be expressed as an IP address, which means it's just an IP address on the internet that you get the name to use. Mine, for instance, is getilluminated.com. So when you register a domain, that means, first of all, it has to be available. If someone else already has it, you can't have it. So it's important to have a domain that is similar to your business name, or if your business name is your personal name, then have it be as similar as possible, because it's easier than having a business name that's one thing and a domain name that's something else. So that's just a naming convention that's really important just for visibility and branding and just making it easy for people to find you online. But let's go back to just the construct of a domain. What it is an address on the internet where you can host a website, and then in addition to the actual domain, which in my case is getilluminated.com, you can have subdomains. In my case, for instance, my training, I have two different other subdomains. I have training.getilluminated.com, and then I have members.getilluminated.com. And what's important to know is when you get a subdomain, all that is one entry in the DNS of your domain. And that sounds really high tech, but the DNS is domain naming scheme. And what that just means is where you register when someone types in members.getilluminated.com, where should it go? So you're just pointing things where the address should go. And if you are doing, for instance, funnels and ClickFunnels, you know that you can have subdomains that also you use for funnels. So in that case, you would create a subdomain and point it back to ClickFunnels, which is where your funnel actually lives. So that's really just the addressing part of domains and subdomains. To get a real understanding of it, think of your domain as the roof of your house. So your house only has one roof, but a subdomain is like a room inside of the house, and your house can have many rooms. So it's important to make that distinction. And if someone tells you, for instance, I've had a lot of people ask recently, they were told for some reason they had to get a separate whole domain to use for their learning portal, for their online courses. That is not true. That what you do need is you need a separate hosting arrangement, but you do not need a second domain. And the reason I'm bringing that up is you pay for domains. And once you pay for your domain, you can have as many subdomains as you want, and it's free. It doesn't cost anything more to have a subdomain. So that's why when people are told, oh, you have to have a second domain. No, you don't. It might be that they don't understand how to do it, or maybe they don't understand that you can host a subdomain in a different place from the domain. Because remember, every one of those things is an address, and it points to some place on the internet. So for instance, in my case, I have my website is on everything is on GoDaddy, but I have one hosting platform for my website, which is the simple, straightforward WordPress, which only lets you do static pages and some links and what have you. But for my portal, I use LearnDash and WordPress, and that is the .org version of WordPress. And that requires a private hosting, whereas the regular WordPress and my website can be managed or shared hosting. So maybe that's where people get confused and they think it's 2 domains that you have to pay for because you have 2 different hosting situations. So that's why I struggle to understand why people think you need 2 domains. That's maybe why they think that's true. And along those lines, as you know, when you go to a website, if you click up in the address bar, you will see either http:// or https://. Now the S is very, very important because the S symbolizes that it is secured. And what that means is that you have an SSL, which is it's a security level that's on a domain or a subdomain, and you need them. An SSL on your domain does not cover your subdomain. So be aware of that, if you have 2 different places, because remember, they're pointing to 2 different locations, 2 different addresses, and both of those addresses need to be secure. And the SSL is what you need to have in order to be able to take credit card payments on your website or on your portal or on a landing page or a funnel. That's why you require SSL security on every domain and subdomain. Now, again, there's a lot of confusion about what does that SSL provide. And really, it doesn't provide very much. It provides the security that you need for people to be able to put secure credit card and personal information in on your different locations, on your different websites and different funnels and other places. But it does not provide you with antivirus or anti-malware, or there's no firewall, there's no anti-hacking, there's no backup, there's no recovery services. So when I say security, website security, I'm including SSL because that's the very basic security that everybody needs on your website so that you can accept credit card payments and have that security. But what you need as the owner of your website and the owner of your portal is you need a bunch of different levels of security. First of all, let's just face it, you need to have it backed up. It needs to be backed up. If you don't make changes very often, you could back up once a month, or if you only change it once a year. I mean, the point is you want to have a backup. I do mine every day, which is overkill because we don't change our website every day. But the point is that if someone makes a mistake, like me or my staff makes a mistake and blows up our website or blows up our portal, or God forbid, it does get hacked or it gets a virus or it gets some malware, you want to be able to roll back to before that happened and have your website, your portal, everything the way it was before whatever that disaster was. Now, along those lines, thinking of hacking and malware and viruses, I use GoDaddy, so I'm going to talk in their terms, but every website and domain host and provider will have a different version of these different types of security. The website security that I have for my own and that I recommend that everybody think about is anti-malware, anti-spam for people to be spamming your things on your domain, anti-virus. And then also that you can buy that, and that's one level of security. And all that means is they're going to put their anti-everything on, they're going to put that firewall up for your domain. But as you know, hackers are really smart and they're very clever and they love a challenge. So once someone has come up with security that blocks them, they consider it to be job one to figure out a way to get through it. And what happens with all of these different systems is there will always be another hacker. There will always be another virus. There will always be different malware. You've probably heard of ransomware. There will always be more of those things coming down the road. And there's always somebody who's the first one or the first group of people to be affected by it. So even if you have paid for anti-malware, anti-spam, anti-virus, anti-hack, even though you've paid for all of that, all they can do is block from the things that they know about. So the next time a new thing comes out, you could be one of the lucky recipients, and I mean this unlucky recipient, and you could be the first one or one of the first in the group to be affected by this new virus or this new malware or this new ransomware or whatever it is. And if you have only purchased that anti level of security, then you're on your own to get back to a usable version of your website. In that case, obviously, a backup would be really important so that you could recover back to the pre-infected version of your website or your portal. But I pay for one level higher of that, which is not only do I pay for all the anti protection and the firewall, I also pay for them, for GoDaddy, to manage it. So so that when something does get through, the next time a new hacker comes up with a new thing, they're going to get through to somebody, and that's what tells the world that it exists. And then all of the anti-spam and antivirus people get to work making something to block it. But the people who've already been affected are affected. So my protection, and again, it'll be a different name depending on who you host with. I have the managed website security. And that means that the GoDaddy technicians will bring it all back to normal. Like, I don't have to do a thing. If I get hacked or I get a virus or I get malware or anything that gets through the level of security that I'm paying for, instead of me just going, oh boy, I hope I have a backup, and if I don't, I got to start over. GoDaddy's, their technicians manage it, they restore it, they clean it, they do anything that needs to be done. Now, it's not free, obviously, but it's not crazy expensive either. And if you keep your eyes open, a lot of times there's a sale. And I want to say that for one of my domains, I believe that I bought it for 4 years or 3 years, I want to say. And I think for the 3 years, it was $500 and something or maybe $600. So it's probably around $200 a year, maybe a little bit less. And again, there's sales different times of the year. And I know when you're starting a business, 200 here, 150 there, the next thing you know, this is adding up to a lot of money. That's very true. But consider what it would cost you to have to start over, to regroup. And it would be bad enough if it only happened while you were still in the startup stage and you hadn't really launched yet, because then in effect, the only person who's really badly affected is you. But what if you've already launched and you have students and you have clients and you have things happening, and now this gets in your website or your portal or something gets infected, and you don't have that technician to help you come back and reload? How long are you going to be out? How long are you going to be down? And then what do you do, and how do you scramble? And now it's going to cost you a whole lot more than $200 to get that straightened out. First of all, just to get it done, and think of the impact on your clients, and think of the impact not only on their journey, but think of what it does to their interpretation and their perception of you and how professional you are. And it's just, in my opinion, it's like talking about not getting car insurance. It's like, yeah, you don't need car insurance until you have an accident. Well, then by then it's too late to get the car insurance. Now, legally in most states, if not all, you have to have car insurance in order to drive. And you have to have home insurance when you buy a house. And I just want you to think of it in those terms. Don't think of it as another expense. Don't think of it as GoDaddy or Bluehost or HostGator trying to sell you something and they just want to make money. Yes, they're going to make money. That's their business. But think about it. Would you really go without insurance just because, oh, that's kind of expensive? Now, that's not to say, I mean, there are people, I have been there when I was very, very young, where we didn't have a lot of money, and insurance, we didn't go without, but we stripped it right down to the very bare minimum. And God bless us, we got through that without a major incident. So think of it in those terms. Don't look at it so much as the $200 they want to charge you right now, and think about how they're making money and they just don't care about people that care about business. And remember, this is your business. This is your livelihood. This is how you are going to present yourself to the world. If you're selling memberships or if you're selling courses, you need that. That is the part of your business that makes your business operate. So if you don't consider it important enough to protect it, you probably need to step back and think about if this is really the right thing for you, because your business depends on your website. Well, maybe not your website, because you don't really do anything on your website except possibly sell. But if you are a coach that has a training portion of your program, you do depend on the internet very much for your livelihood. So just think about it. That's my little spiel, and I'm sorry if I sound like a lecturing school marm here, but it is so important. And I just want everybody to be aware that when you get a domain, it is just the domain. It's not SSL. But now sometimes they'll have specials where they'll say, hey, for today, or for this month, if you host with us, you'll get 1 year of hosting, you'll get a free email address, you'll get a free SSL for the first year, you'll get this free and that free for the first year. And the point is, it's free for the first year because they want you to host with them. But then in the second and subsequent years, you're going to pay for it. And that doesn't mean it's time to switch hosts and go to another place where it's free. You have to kind of settle in, put on your big girl undies, and realize that running a business is controlling your assets, controlling your resources, controlling what you do for your clients, and providing the safety and security to you and your clients. And that costs money. So that's it. That's my speech. I don't want to berate everybody, but I just wanted to get through that. Okay, Donna, GoDaddy package, you know what, Dinah, what she's asking is, what GoDaddy package do I recommend? She has a website, funnels, and a LearnDash portal. So on the website part, you don't really need the backup. Well, I mean, you probably do want a backup because you don't want to have to rebuild your website. But technically speaking, if you wanted to scrimp on the backup there, you wouldn't have to do it. But you do need to pay for the security of, and I believe, I'm going to look it up, Dinah, and give you the actual name. The reason I'm making a distinction is on your LearnDash portal, that's a different type of hosting, and therefore has a little bit different package with GoDaddy. So I'm going to, when we're done with the call here, I will get you the actual names of the packages. And they are a little bit different because the portal is a different level of hosting than just the website. And Dinah says, can't paste the image. And Renee is asking, she says she pays for Ask-A-Smart. I don't know what that is. Is that security? Renee, is that a security? I'm not sure what that is. I don't use Bluehost, so I'm not sure. Hold on, you know what? Let's just take a look and see what that is. And again, I think what I would do in any case is to go and look and see what is included. Like, don't just say, oh yeah, I've got their security, and then not really know what you've actually got. I don't understand. I'm sorry, Renee, I don't know what that is. AKISMRT. I'm not sure what that is. Oh, AKISMRT. I'm not sure. And she says she's with Bluehost. Let me look and see. So did that come with Bluehost? Is that what that means? Hold on, I'm going to look that up. AKS Smart. Let's see. And Renee, is yours? Renee, is yours a portal too and a website, or the website only? What I'm not sure what that is. Okay. So I'm looking, they have shared hosting and dedicated hosting. So I'm guessing that you have the dedicated hosting for your domain, for your portal, and then the shared hosting for your domain. All right. Thank you, Renee. Thank you. All right, that explains why I didn't know what that was. And Renee, do you have a? Did you say you have a LearnDash? Because the comments have rolled by, so I can't really see it. Okay, Ask-A-Met is it's spam filtering. Okay, all right. So no, that is not that's not all that you need. That is a spam filtering service, which that's really nice to not have spam hitting your website or hitting your portal, but that is not blocking malware. That's not blocking viruses. That's not blocking any of the ransomware or anything like that. So you should be looking for a firewall, is what they normally call it. And the firewall is like, it's exactly what it sounds like. When you're, for instance, in an apartment building or condos or townhouses, there's a firewall between each of the units so that if one catches on fire, it doesn't burn through and burn down the whole building. It blocks, it stops the problem right at the firewall. So a firewall for your website or your portal does the same type of thing. It controls what can get to your website and what can get to your portal. And the firewall is the type of service that normally includes all these different safety and security things. And again, don't forget the backup. You need to have some form of backup. Now in WordPress, there is a built-in to inside of WordPress backup that is fine if you do it regularly. But remember, you need to be able to get to those files. If something goes wrong and you have to restore, you need to be able to get to those backup files. So if the infection, let's say it's you have your information and you're downloading it to your computer, it's not far-fetched to think that if your website or your portal gets infected, there's every chance that your computer is going to also be infected. And if that's the case and your backup files are on your computer and now your computer is infected too, now so your backup doesn't really help. So it's important, I think, to have your backup files be somewhere in the cloud, somewhere that you can get to. And worst case scenario, if your website is infected or your portal's infected and your computer gets infected, you can just get another computer. You don't have to buy one, borrow somebody's computer, and you can go to that place wherever it is in the cloud, and you can restore from wherever it is, and you can move forward. So it's important to have a backup, always have a backup, but also I think it's important to have your backup happening in the cloud so that, God forbid, there's an earthquake and your house is in shambles and your computer's under there somewhere, or you have a fire and now it's smoke damage or whatever. You need to be able to get back in business without your piece of hardware. So you have to protect your domain, your subdomain, and all of your hosted different locations on the internet, but you also need to protect your computer the same way. So that's, okay, Renee says Backdraft, and Backdraft is a backup, as I recall. I have not used that, but I see that. Okay, so I guess the bottom line here is when you step away, go look at what you're paying for in your hosting. And it won't just be hosting. Now, like I said, occasionally on the first year that you host, it'll throw in stuff for free. So if you just started your domain this year and you got a whole bunch of stuff for free, look and see what you got for free. And see, first of all, if there is security there and if there is backup and what have you. And if there isn't, talk to them about how do you get that and how do you maintain that and what's it going to cost you. And if you don't see it, talk to them about what you have to do to make that happen. Because think of where you would be if your website crashed or your portal crashed and you didn't have a backup to restore. They call that business continuity because that means you're going to continue your business after a disaster. So it's backup and disaster recovery is the terminology, which means that a disaster happened, and the disaster can be something as simple as your website was hacked, or you got a virus, or you got some malware. That is a disaster. And then how do you recover? And that backup and disaster recovery is your continuity. That's how your business continues. That's how you stay in business. So that's why you want to make sure you have backup software. You want to make sure you have this website security so that you're only down for a day or two, not a month or two. That's what we want to avoid. All right, so does anyone else have any other questions? I'm going to look into the things that you asked about, ladies, and I will put a post in here. I've got 2 meetings this afternoon, so I might not get to it till this evening or tomorrow, but I will go put a post in the group of the things that you guys asked about. And then I will compare it to what it is. Like, is that what you really need? Or do you need that plus something else? Or do you need something other than that altogether? And again, the whole point of this is to make your life less stressful. And in that example I gave in the beginning, where you don't want to pay the $200 a year to have the security, and then something bad happens, and now it's going to cost you $200 an hour for like 3 days to get the whole thing figured out. That $200 would sound really, really cheap in that situation. And you have to look at it as a business owner, and not as, gee, I don't really want to spend that money. Nobody wants to spend the money, but it's kind of, and I hate to say it, it's almost like a pay them now or pay them later. Because if you pay them now, then they'll take on the responsibility and they will handle it. If you don't pay them now, then you will pay them later, and it will be a whole lot more expensive, and you'll have a lot of stress and a lot of anxiety, and that could really interrupt your cash flow. That could interrupt people, because if people can't use your content for a week or 2 weeks or 3 weeks, there might be a situation where people say, hey, I couldn't do my thing. Don't you think I deserve? And hopefully it wouldn't be a refund. Maybe you would just say, well, I'll extend your membership for the 2 weeks or whatever it was. But the whole point of this is save yourself that aggravation and just let yourself sleep at night and know that you have things protected, and that if something does go wrong, you're covered. You'll get by with the least amount of interruption. That's the whole point. All right. Well, that is pretty much everything I wanted to talk about as far as domains, subdomains, security. And I just wanted to make sure everybody was aware of the situation. I talked to a lot of people, and very few people have, for some reason, very few people have backup and recovery, which, again, if you only build your website once and you never change it, you never put a blog post up, you never put anything else on there, and you have those original files stored somewhere, maybe you could get by, but I would not be comfortable. But I don't think there's very many people that's the case. All of us are updating things, not all the time, but regularly enough that we need to have backups more frequently than once. All right, everybody. It was lovely to see everyone. Please let me know if you have any other questions. Of course, you do not have to wait till Tuesday, but if you have ideas of a subject that you would like to have covered, let me know. And if you just have questions between now and next week, that's fine too. You don't have to wait. Just drop the questions in the group and I will get back to you. I check it 2, sometimes 3 times a day. Okay, everybody have a great week, and we'll see you next time. Bye.